This is Ugginteria with your Synergy Snack. In the last video, we looked at the Fire Attunement for Scepter Dagger. This time, the Lightning Attunement, a single target and evasion focused attunement. At the end, we'll tie the two attunements together and show how being able to manage at least these two attunements can make a complete killer out of any elementalist. Lightning Attunement requires a quick look at all 5 skills. Skill number 1, Arc Lightning. It's channeled over the course of 3 seconds with a tick of damage each third of a second. However, each new tick is higher than the previous, so it's beneficial to finish the channel when possible. Skill number 2, Lightning Strike. It's an instant spell for a good amount of damage. Being instant, this skill can be used without interrupting Arc Lightning, so it should be used every time it's off cooldown. Skill number 3, Blinding Flash. Also single target, also instant, but for no damage and gives a target blind for 5 seconds. You'll use this defensively to avoid attacks along with your dodge rolls. Skill number 4, Ride the Lightning. This is where things get interesting. Here's what the skill does. You rush forward, losing the ability to use any other skills towards your target. When you reach your target, you stop and explode for a moderate amount of lightning damage. This skill is an amazing gap closer, but if you have no target or a friendly target, you'll simply rush forward for a pretty long distance. This spell is really amazing when used to generate distance or avoid a fight altogether or any other of 1,000 uses for it. Play around with it and you'll see where it helps. Skill number 5, Updraft. This skill is a favorite among elementalists everywhere, especially in PvP. You hit your target with a gust of wind, knocking them back a short ways, knocking them down, and you evasively roll backwards. This is insanely powerful, and we'll look at 2 of the very simple uses for it today. A quick note on instant spells. They're not labeled in any way in the game or on the tooltips. You just have to discover which ones are instant. But instant spells are incredibly powerful. They can be used at almost any time, including when you're knocked down or in the middle of channeling a different spell. Killing in this spec is incredibly simple. I open with number 2, Lightning Strike, which starts my number 1 on auto attack. Then I strafe kite away as much as possible, hitting number 2 the moment it's off cooldown. I try to time number 3, Blinding Flash, for when the mob is a couple seconds away, so that I can run the cooldown as much as possible, but still get to avoid the first hit using the blind. If I'm dedicated to sticking to Lightning Attunement, and for the sake of this explanation we assume I am, I can use Updraft defensively. Because of the extremely long cooldown on it, I'll use it early, after the first blind. This way I have 2 dodges and usually a second blind to rely on before the cooldown and Updraft come back. Using Updraft defensively is as easy as waiting until a mob is about to swing and then popping the skill. It interrupts whatever the monster was doing and throws you back a ways to keep kiting while your number 1 and 2 spells slowly grind their health down. This method is the same for multiple mobs, just make sure you're kiting away from everything while you burn down one at a time. Ride the Lightning can be used at any time for a kicker of damage, but I tend to use it right before Updraft. Ride the Lightning in, wait for an attack, which is usually pretty much immediately, then Updraft back out, and keep kiting. This will do a fair amount of damage too, and leave you with swiftness to make kiting even easier. Here I'll mention the second common use for Updraft. Because the knockdown is so long, you can use that time to set up one of your more difficult skills, Dragon's Tooth, which we talked about in the last video. As soon as you Updraft, switch attunements to Fire, and immediately Dragon's Tooth. It'll land before they get back up. This will work for a few other skills, but Dragon's Tooth is the one most commonly talked about when you talk about Updraft comboing. That's the quick and dirty overview of killing in Lightning Attunement. But here's where it gets really useful. If you start in Fire and kill using the Ring of Fire Blast combos method, you can immediately switch to Lightning Attunement and start killing with at least 9 stacks of might, which will make some quick work of any monsters. You'll also find switching between the two in tougher fights is quite beneficial as the need arises. Sometimes I'll switch from Fire to Lightning just to make some serious distance in a fight I'm getting overwhelmed. In the next Synergy Snack, I'll discuss a trait and utility build I use for pure run speed to get between fights as quickly as possible, with a fun twist I've seen few people use, but I really enjoy. That's your bite of Synergy. Keep snacking.